is the sound of one hand clapping? What is the sound of one fist punching? What is the sound of the IronCast? Hey heroes, it's me, Charlie, the Professor Esser, and with me as always is my skinny, rich friend.
It's Mozz.
It's Mozz. Yeah, we're going to do a little low energy today. Hey, Mozz. Tonight we're doing Season 1, Episode 9, The Mistress of All Agonies. Madame Gao plays her mind games, Ward's old habits catch up with him, and Danny discovers that he still has much to learn about being the Iron Fist. Directed by Jet Wilkinson, written by Scott Buck, who is created by credit. Pat Charles was our writer, and of course, good old Dwayne Worrell. That's our staff writer. Okay.
Good old Dwayne.
Good old Dwayne.
And the reason I was being sort of low key right there was I listened to the previous episode that's out, and I felt like my volume was too loud, so I was trying to not be so loud, so close to the mic.
Oh, well, I thought you were perfect, but then I'm a loud guy. So, I'm big and boisterous,
Yeah,
Anyway.
I think we have that in common.
Yes. Yeah, so, tonight's episode opens up with, Frank N. Stein.
Indeed.
Coming back, and not too well for wear, one can say. No, he is. Yeah. He is. That of course is. What's his name? Harold Meacham. Back from the dead again after Ward went through all that trouble to kill him last week, but 3 days later, he's back.
Yeah.
And he is not doing too well at first. He's sort of wandering around, sort of getting his bearings.
Right. I thought that was really, really cool for him to sort of get used to the idea of what it means to be alive again. I thought that was played really well.
Yeah. Well, it was very well. Yeah. I mean, it was interesting. To say the least. And part of me was sitting there wondering, is he going to be like this forever? Does he come back and he's like, dumb guy now? Or is he going to get his brains back? And, when he smells the hot dogs and he reaches into the hot dog water, and that was crazy. And of course, he runs into the, lady and her kid who are playing in the fire hydrant, which of course is always fun. And I love that lady was not giving him the time of day. She was very much of the mood of, who the heck are you? Why are you talking to me? Get away from my kid. I don't know you. I don't want to know you.
Yeah. I mean, he was a big, weird guy, just, occupying something meant for kids. And scaring the kids, too.
Yeah, well, he was Frankenstein, and he's stumbling around, and and you don't know, is he some homeless guy? Is he a drunk? What's his story? And he probably stinks because he was sleeping in the swamp last night. And, he is all Solomon Grundied up right now. Also has a delightful thing where he coughs up something in front of the hot dog vendor, which did not look like it went well.
Yeah, I'm assuming that was just mud from being in the bog for so long.
Yeah. I assumed that was what it was too, but it was weird because he seemed to be breathing okay up until that point. Although I guess maybe it was mud.
It would sort of led. Yeah, I guess it made me think maybe he's a real zombie because he's got all this stuff in him. His body's obviously not working, but somehow he's walking. Yeah. But of course he gets better.
Yeah, he does get better, although better is a relative term.
Fair enough, yeah.
He does he does make it back to the apartment. And, well, actually, first he gets back to the Rand Corporation,
Right.
and while there, he starts to get a sense of who he is. He starts to rebuild himself. He remembers his kids, Ward and Joy.
My favorite part was when he's looking inside the building and he goes, Ward, I'm Meacham. Why isn't my name on the building?
Yes. Yeah, well, it's fair enough. And of course he goes back to, he does walk into the building. He wanders around the building. Because apparently, I guess the security's still there for him. Like, I guess they never cleared it out after 15 years or something. That's a little weird.
Yeah.
And, but he wanders around the building, he sees everything, and then he goes back to his apartment. He punches in the code, and then that was the first moment when I realized he was coming back.
Right.
He gets to
He remembered Ward's birthday.
Yeah, he remembered. Oh, is that what that was? Okay.
Yeah, I think he says it was Ward's birthday, and he punches it.
See, I missed that. Okay, good.
Which is interesting because I guess, Ward was more important to him than he lets on in a way,
Yeah, well, it is weird. There's definitely something with those two. And I'm not quite sure what it is. It's weird and it's interesting, but, it's cool how it goes. And, he calls...
I think it's the typical father-son sort of tough love, trying to make him better and then being disappointed when he doesn't respond the way that you expect him to deal.
Yeah, I think that's probably a lot of it, to be honest with you. But he does go up to the apartment. Now, does he meet Ward there, or does he call the...
Ward. Yeah,
he meets Ward there. Because Ward comes back, and he goes up there and he gets himself cleaned up.
Yeah.
And then...
Ward is like, I'm going to die now, probably.
Yes.
What I thought was interesting about this scene is how Harold starts coming to and becoming more of himself. And I wondered whether that whole thing, that act he puts on of, you really think I'm a monster? I'm so sorry, Ward. Like, was that some little inside piece of him, childlike, that he stuffed down, that for a moment got to be let out and he sort of responded to the world in a childlike way, and he didn't have the foresight to cover up his true intentions and said, I'm sorry to Ward? Or was it just a ploy to get Ward back under his control?
Well, you know what it is I kind of get the feeling that there's definitely a power dynamic difference in the Harold Ward relationship all of a sudden. I definitely think this is a situation where Harold is waking up, and you see this actually throughout it, because when we first see him, he's very much a health nut. He's like, exercising every day and all that kind of stuff. And then by the end of the whole arc for him, we see he's eating fried chicken and mashed potatoes. He is definitely no longer caring about that, because he realizes he is now effectively immortal. But yeah, so he does reach out to Ward, and I do think that is real. That is real, and I think that was always below the surface with him. I think that what it was he has always, like you said, he always wanted Ward to be a better man, but Ward didn't respond in the way he wanted him to.
Yeah.
And that led to a lot of negative emotions. And now he's gotten a chance to come back from the dead, as it were. And he is seeing things as very much a new adventure, a new life for him. And he likes that. And that's a good thing. But of course, he doesn't take him long to go back to his old ways. And we do see trying to think if it's this episode or next episode where we get sort of what the explanation of what happened to him was. Oh no, it is this episode. Because of course he goes after, and basically what he does is he says he wants out, and Harold says, "Okay, you're out," which is kind of a fascinating turn, you know. After all this time he was pressing, and now he's like, "Okay, that's fine, you can go." You know, I'm not happy about it, but I do want to make amends. And again, it's this area where you're like wondering, is that the real him? Is there some kind of deeper compassion here that's maybe a little closer to the surface now? You don't think so?
I don't think so. I think, and even it was like the scariest thing he could have done to Ward in that moment was say, the question doesn't even beg a response from me. Just go. You will always be under my control. If you think you want to go, just fucking go. If I need you, you'll be here when I need you to be here, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, and I think Ward understood it too, and he was just, even he walked out, he knew he wasn't free, and like he just refused to actually answer the question, you know?
Yeah, and not for nothing, he does basically hold the fact that now I will just go be with, I'll go with Joy now. So I need someone. Yeah. So get me Joy back, and then we're good. Or I'm going to go get Joy because someone has to run the company, and if it's not you, it has to be her. Which is, you know, and you can see him hesitating there because he hadn't really thought of that, I guess. That, you know, there is no escape for poor old Ward. Now here, because as we're getting off the subject here, I do want to bring up the fact that last episode we were in China, and we had captured Madame Gao. And this episode we are in New York City with Madame Gao tied to a chair. And exactly how he got from China to New York City, never explained.
No.
There was like this thing, because I'm sitting here, because at first, you know, I'm watching it, I'm going, oh, okay, so they're interrogating her, they're in China still, and they're going to do this, you know, half a world away split story, and then, oh, no, here's Danny Rand walking down Manhattan Boulevard.
No, well, I mean, I can kind of see it with the revelation in the next episode, how that could have been pulled off, you know what I mean?
Well, I mean... Well, here's what I'm going to say.
The hand could have arranged it, you know?
Except the hand didn't arrange. Oh, well, I mean, okay, unless the hand wanted him to bring Madame Gao back. I guess.
Right, because, I mean, have you seen the next episode?
Yes, of course.
Okay, so, I mean, like, it
turns out... We're going to record that next.
Yeah, fair enough, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, at this point, I can see how it would happen.
Okay, yeah, I guess that's the thing. I mean, and you figure, well, they took Rand's private jet and they flew over, and you know, but still, you know, you got customs and you got passports to stamp. I mean, how much are you really going to bribe people on that trip back? You know, although I guess.
Well, I mean, think about this. You know, it's like anytime you do anything in Japan, the Yakuza have to be paid off. If they can be so deeply ingrained in every aspect of the country, then I can understand the hand being that way as well, especially if they were in China, you know?
Yeah. So they do get back to the U.S. and they are interrogating Madame Gao. And, of course, what's her name? Claire comes up with the brilliant idea to give her sodium pentothal. Yes, which really amused Gao, and I thought that was really hilarious. Well, yeah, because it's like, you know, I mean, yeah, how is that going to work on crazy mystical ninja Chinese lady? You know? Yeah, but I think it was more than that, because I think the serum did work, but I think she is such a
badass that, I mean, it's like every eventuality of any situation she has already come to terms with and knows how to handle it once it becomes real. So she already came to terms with it, and she knew that the truth that Danny was going to pull out of her wasn't really going to help him, that it was actually going to probably hurt him immensely. And then, she's like, okay, if it's got to come out, now I'm going to be amused because he doesn't even know it and I'm going to hurt him. It's so diabolical,
That is why she is Madame Cow.
Yeah.
And she does make a really great character here.
Oh, man. And what she does with Colleen and Claire afterwards.
Oh, yeah.
Man, oh, man.
And, she's doing her manipulation. She's doing her manipulation of Colleen. And that is interesting how it plays out, especially given the revelations of next episode.
Yeah.
Where we find out that there's way more to the story than we thought. And then, but before things can go, she starts getting woozy.
Mm.
And all of a sudden, she is doubled over. Oh no, actually, was that no, yeah. So she's doubled over from the poison. Because apparently there was just enough of a nick of a poison in her. It took some time, but it did start to gave her that dendrotoxin,
Yeah.
And so she is dying, as it were, which is not good. And then we get the again SWAT team attack. Yeah. And again, that was like a weird thing, like not ninja hand warriors, military guys.
I'm still not sure who they were.
Well, I get the feeling. Given what we see next episode, that I think they might have been. They weren't Gao's men.
Right.
I think they were the other guy's men, and that was his manipulation of things.
Right.
Maybe, I don't know. We really don't know. Although we do get a great little Iron Fist, breaking some guns, and we see a lot of fighting and ninjas. We even see Claire. I don't know if she had like claws on her hands or something. She had some kind of thing, and she was kicking some butt too.
Yeah, they're those old ninja weapons that you used to see in all the movies in the 80s. The little claw hand, like Wolverine claws, but bent,
Yeah, and as bracelets. So so that's pretty cool. So they're fighting and they're holding their own pretty nicely, kicking some people in the head. And meanwhile, Madame Gao is just sitting there. She is not fazed by any of this, which again gives you to this idea that she's already 4 steps ahead of everyone.
Yeah.
And maybe she is, maybe she isn't, but she definitely gives you that feeling.
Yeah. And then I think we get to one of the coolest scenes and the most confusing scenes, I guess, in this episode for me was Harold and his assistant Kyle.
Oh, goodness.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. What did you think was going on there? I mean, like, he really thought that he would come back, right?
Oh, Kyle thought that
Harold thought that Kyle would come back from the dead after he kills him.
Oh. Yeah, maybe he did. I didn't notice that.
Because after, like, he kills him, he sort of, like, says this cryptic thing, like, you're going to go somewhere, blah, 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 something, I've been there. And then he kills him, and then he looks down at him and starts shaking him for him to come back or something. And he's like, oh, no, what have I done? So it's like, I wonder what that was about,
Well, I got the feeling that what he was saying is, I think it went on I don't know if he thought he was going to come back. I think when he said, I know where you're going to,
Yeah.
I think he's talking about being dead, because he was dead for 3 days. But I think what happens is that after he's killed this guy, it does dawn on him, what did he just do? he just really crossed the line, you know?
Yeah.
He did something he shouldn't ought to have done. And now this guy is dead. And he puts him in the planter. And man, I don't know, man. You really think the guy should have just eaten the dang ice cream?
Yeah.
You know, and it's like,
you know who you work for. You know who you work for.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, you know, just saying, oh, do you have any vanilla? It's like, you know.
He went through all this trouble.
Yeah, really.
And what was he doing? Was he searching for a new ward, possibly like a bench warmer for Ward, just in case?
I think he was actually just rewarding him with ice cream, and I think he was rewarding him. You know, here's the thing, and I think what you're seeing is this idea of impulse control. I think what you're really seeing, and I think that's sort of what is, because I think it doesn't, you know, they describe it, because of course we do have Ward go speak with the Yakuza guy, who basically says, have you ever heard about someone coming back from the dead? And he goes, well, there was this one story of this, you know, or he said the shepherd's son or something like that, you know, who, you know, he was a warrior, he was brought back by the hand, and then he could not die. But one day and every time he came home, his wife rejoiced because, you know, her husband had come back from the war and was immortal, as it were. But then one day she comes home and he is roasting his 2 children because, you know, you harm the ones you care about the most. And you sort of get this implication in that what it's doing is, I guess, sort of eroding your higher. It's like taking away your humanity, but I think what it's actually doing is making you more bestial.
Right.
You know, it's not so much a lack of humanity. It's just a lack of. I mean, what it is. It's a lack of humanity in the sense that, you know, your higher functions are what keep you from being bestial, and he no longer he is losing that. And as it goes on, he's going to lose it more and more. And we see a nice bit there and we do see that Ward does have the patch.
And he's finally used it. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting to me because we don't. Again, one of these things, we don't know how he got the patch.
Yeah.
Sorry. We don't know where this all came from. We just know that he's got it and he's using now. But then, of course, he gets arrested by the cops who say they saw all the heroin on the seat of his car.
Yeah.
And he gets arrested, put on the 24-hour hold, yada, yada. And
it's funny, he's talking to the same psychiatrist that Danny was.
Yes. And he makes a great point about, you know, I know how the 72-hour hold works and all this kind of stuff. And it's actually a pretty neat storyline, all told.
Yeah.
But he does wind up in the same insane asylum that Danny wound up as. And, you know, and I love the fact that he's sitting there and he's like, I can't tell you what happened. Yeah, and you can see him looking at the monitor because he knows his dad is watching. He says, you know, I can't tell you because then you're going to think I'm crazy, you know?
Yeah.
And it is a delightfully little perfect circular logic of it, you know?
Yeah.
So all he can do is just sort of keep his mouth shut and, you know, try to seem sane enough to get out, you know?
Yeah.
Now we're going to see if he gets some nasty withdrawal symptoms in about 24 hours or not. But we're going to see what happens with that. Meanwhile, I
think this is where Joy starts walking to the building on 57th Street. And the elevator doors just happen to open for her.
Oh, yes, because her dad's opening the elevator doors. And what was weird to me in this is the elevators go right up to the penthouse. And, like, in the previous episode, didn't you walk upstairs to get to the penthouse?
Right. I can see him having some special, entrance for himself or something, I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that works. Because there was all that security,
Yeah, and
retinal
he
scans
was
and
pushed a
everything.
button and the elevator opened, so he has control over everything. So I imagine.
Yeah.
But that was a really, really cool emotional scene. I was riveted. Like, how is this gonna go?
Yeah.
How is she gonna react?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it was crazy. It was, and you can
Yeah.
see her seeing how crazy it was.
Yeah.
And they sort of, you get the feeling that she is very happy to have her father back, but at the same time, she does not trust him.
Mm.
I really feel she does not trust him here. I really think she is sitting here knowing you've been lying to me my entire life about the fact that you were still alive.
Right.
What is going on here?
I'm sort of excited about this partnership because before this, I was sort of, I could take it or leave it with Harold as a character,
Yeah.
But now that Joy's by his side, the two of them could do a lot of damage. And I think that would be so fun to watch. I'm really excited about this little partnership.
Yes, and it is actually going to be very interesting because I really do feel that there is some strength here. Meanwhile, back at the dojo, after we have defeated the bad guys, Colleen is really succumbing to the poison, and then who should show up?
Bukatu,
her boyfriend, who
or Sensei, right?
Well,
we're
gonna.
I don't know.
He was clearly her boyfriend. And this is what I really feel is like the worst thing in this series is this constant subordination of Colleen Wing's character to the Bakuto character, and it's like she becomes a completely different person when Bakuto's there, And I wonder, is she all starry-eyed over this guy, or what is it? And it's.
I think, like, he coerced her and got her to join this cult, So that doesn't happen without developing a certain level of idol worship sort of feeling in your subjects when you're doing that. So I think that's probably what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. It does feel a little bit like things have kind of gotten gotten away from who the character should be. But maybe that is part of her arc, and maybe you know what it is. And this is the thing. I think it's something that gets explained, like next episode. You really see what's going on with all this. You do get a lot of images removed, or hidden things removed, but then. Then it reveals stuff that explains this behavior. But I can see why before that, when you're just watching this behavior, how frustrating that would be, seeing her get all, oh, sensei, dee, And now, and one of the things I didn't notice this, you really notice this next episode, but you do notice it a bit here, is that Bakuto is basically the mirror doppelganger of Danny Rand. They both have the beard, they both have the curly hair, but one is blonde and one is brunette.
Interesting.
Yeah, I really noticed that next episode, but this episode you could see it in this episode too. And he basically explains to Danny how he can focus his chi to cure Colleen, to pull the poison out of her, to heal her. Yeah. As it were. And that's what he does.
I love how Madame Gao is like, it's a trap, Yeah. It's like plainly letting him know what's going on. And I'm like thinking to myself, is it a trap? Is it not a trap? But like there's like a smarmy, characteristic to that character Bukadu that I just don't trust him.
Oh, no. No, I actually have come to start to think that maybe Madame Gao is maybe not the good guy, but is at least the person who's not lying.
Right.
I think
Right.
I think everything she's saying is 100% the truth. I think she is dealing with Danny Rand honestly
Yeah.
because she knows that Danny Rand, she left Kunlun. He left, or Kunlun. How are we going to pronounce it? Kunlun or Kunlun, depending on what day of the week it is. He left of his own volition. He went to go find something. And now he is, unfortunately, embroiled in this internecine conflict. And
Yeah.
I think Madame Gao, Wai Ching Ho, is basically, being honest with him. And
Yeah.
he
I
doesn't.
can see her being like sort of like the order keeper of the
Mhm.
situation. You know how in Luke Cage, where Shades was the character, he was evil, but a necessary evil. And if you placated those impulses in people in a certain way, you could have society work as a whole. I think Madame Gao understands things to that level more so than everybody else in the equation.
Yeah. And I do think that is the crux of Madame Gao in this. She is pretty awesome in that. One other character, he doesn't say much in this, but I do want to bring him up here.
Mm,
We don't get his name this episode. We are going to find out that he is Davos.
mm,
He is played by Sasha Dehuan. He's a Hindi actor from England, which is
mm.
a great little twist on the yellow washing controversy, because of course, he's actually from, the Himalayas. Well, not the
Right,
Himalayas, but he's actually from India, and
right.
he's an Asian person, but from a different part of Asia, but also maybe arguably more related to people you might meet in Kunlun.
Yeah, because we're talking about comparing it to where it would exist in real life would be Nepal,
Yeah,
and that's
exactly.
bordering India as well. So
Exactly.
I can see that.
But that's cool. And he is, but we see him here. And okay, one thing I didn't really like is
Yeah,
just,
we haven't done a lot of that this episode, which is interesting.
oh yeah, no, I mean, honestly, most of the stuff I actually really enjoyed. This was really a solid
Yeah.
episode. I mean, the biggest thing, my biggest complaints are, how do they get to New York? And you know what the problem with it is it was never fridge logic for me. It was just immediately, it's like, wait, they're, and then we get something else
Yeah.
about this again, where it's like, where the heck are they supposed to be? Um,
Right. Just poor editing.
yeah, but Davos, you see him after he knocks out the food cart guy, or the food truck guy, and then you see him basically folding tinfoil into throwing stars,
Yeah.
and then throwing the throwing stars so that they pierce the steel door behind
Yeah.
and I'm just sitting there going, really?
Well, I mean, I've seen that in other sort of supernatural martial arts movies. They can charge an object and throw it, kind of like Gambit, I guess.
Yeah, but we're not seeing that. We're just, I mean, honestly, like, to me, it's sort of like, I mean, yeah, you can throw a straw with such force that it pierces a wooden door, but there actually is a rigidity. There are certain laws of physics that are in play in
Oh
that.
yeah, no, 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 and that's how I interpreted it, was that he turned it, charged it with his chi, and that's how he was able to do it, or that he has a power to turn tinfoil into metal somehow, or he has some sort of thing where he can do that. But I
Yeah.
just assumed it was,
Oh, I just assumed
I
it was
didn't
just
think they were trying to,
ridiculousness.
yeah.
I guess that would be the differentiation
All
for
right.
me. But okay, I like how this, because of course we are seeing this and we really get the idea that this guy is a bad guy, that he's
Yeah.
we actually see him run across Harold earlier. and give Harold a bit of the
Yeah.
stink eye. And
Yeah.
as it all comes out, you wonder, oh, did he sense the hand on him? But that is all stuff we will talk about next week on the Iron Fist, the IronCast. So
yeah. Well, I think
yes.
I do think it's important to mention right at the end, though. The team escapes with Gao and Danny, and it seemed like they were working for Gao. That's what it seemed like at the onset right there. That was my impression that I was left with. I was like, oh my God, it was a trap. Colleen's been working with Gao the whole time.
Wait, when they escape with Bakuto?
Yeah, when Danny heals Colleen and he's tired, as soon as he passes out, the guys come in, undo Mrs. Gao, Madame Gao, and then everybody goes up into the SUV.
Oh, yeah,
and they load Gao in really carefully. It almost looked like they worked for Gao. And so the impression I was left with here was, oh my God, Kali's been working with the hand the whole time.
Yes.
Or working for Gao the whole time. I was like, oh my God.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. No, I see what you're saying. And yeah, that definitely seems like it, but of course,
yeah.
That is sort of where we leave it. There were two ways you could take it. Either that was Bakuto's men, taking them out, or it was Gao's men, or it was some other group's men. But it was a bunch of folks in riot gear taking everyone out, and that was beautiful and worrisome. Okay. Mozz, if you want to talk to you about the IronCast or anything else that you like to do, how can they find you?
Or they can find me on Facebook under Mozz Manzor, or email me at mozzmanzor@gmail.com. That's MOZZMANZOOR.
Okay, and of course you can always write to me in that old-fashioned email way at superconnectivityblog@gmail.com. That's superconnectivityblog, all one word, at gmail.com. And of course, follow me on Twitters at Charlie Esser as I live tweet all sorts of shows. That's CharlieEsser. Look for the two E's in the middle for quality. Now, students, thank you for walking the path of the Iron Fist with us once again. Remember, it is not a path to a door, but a road leading forever into the horizon.